Hello and welcome to Investing Confidential. Haven't been on in a while, but nothing's really changed. I mean, nothing's making sense. Okay, absolutely nothing makes sense, except that it does. Uh, as we spoke about Wall Street, the White House, the powers that be, they must have assets going higher. Okay, they want rates going lower. Okay, they need this to stay in power. Okay, they are manipulating the numbers. And we've proven. I mean, they're not they're morons because we can see right through them. Okay, but they have a big they want to have a big party. Okay, they want to win the election in October. They want the stock market to go up so Wall Street can sell a lot of stocks. They can sell a lot of bonds. They can do all this funky IPOs, M&A. All this depends on the S&P 500. And Wall Street doesn't care who gets elected. They don't care. They don't care about the common people. They just care about their bonuses. Because I was one of them, right? I know it. But the party is being interrupted with something called inflation. Now, a lot of these guys weren't around when we had the last inflation in the 70s. I was a baby during this time, kid. But inflation we have. And there's not much they can do because they got a guy named Powell, the Fed chairman. Everyone, you've been watching my videos, you know what I think of Powell. I mean, this guy's a moron. Okay? He's an absolute moron because he doesn't care. He's in the pockets of his buddies. Okay? The same, and the Fed really has just lost control. Okay? Inflation data keeps going higher. These clowns keep talking dovish. These are the same guys who said inflation was transitory a couple of years ago. Either they lied or they're stupid. I say it's a little of both. Now they're playing the same game, the same exact game, because Powell, folks, is a dove. Okay, and I mean, I got, he for a while I was like, oh, maybe this guy. No, he was always a dove, and he's making policy errors, but he's not making policy errors, right? So he's not actually introducing policy. He knows that when he talks, that's the same as making some kind of change in policy. So what does he do? He just talks dovish all the time. And the Fed is losing control, completely losing control. So, he wants to cut rates badly. And we keep talking about, like, how do you cut rates? So you got the White House saying the economy's booming and this guy wants to cut rates. Nothing is making sense. Absolutely nothing's making sense because his handlers, as we spoke about, all they care about is they're the PE, they're the private equity guys, they're the venture capital guys. They just want to they want to blow their inventory out at high prices. If the S&P goes down, they're screwed. They're absolutely screwed. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. But they have no choice now. Inflation is spoiling their party, and rates will be higher for longer. We've been saying this for a very, very long time. Okay? The Congress, the White House, they love the printing press. And so they keep printing money, inflation keeps going higher, but they're too dumb to know that. They're just focused on politics. They're too dumb. And they keep spending money like drunken sailors. And, if you look at the GDP numbers that just came out early in the week, it doesn't matter when these numbers, because they just came out. I mean, the GDP was lower than expectations, but it was over 100% government spending. 100%. Without the government spending, we're in recession. 100%. Now the elites will tell you there's no recession. There's no all these the celebrities, the pundits. There's no recession. There's no recession. If you're in Middle America, you're middle class, whatever. We're in a recession. You feel it. The government numbers come out and they tell you there's no recession. They're fake numbers. And I mean, I'm not even going to go through it anymore. I went through watch my old videos. They're all fake. They just don't make sense anymore. And none of these politicians care about the future. They're rich, they're stubborn, they're selfish, they're moron. They could give a rat's ass. Okay. And why do I call them morons? Because they're not fooling anybody. It's plain, it's right there. And especially not fooling the people who buy treasuries, mainly foreigners. Foreigners are saying no. These auctions are failing. And then they're stuffing the debt in US pension funds and banks, et cetera, which, again, this is what we call financial repression. We've talked about this in the past. And you can see here now, dealer inventory. These are, dealers, banks, et cetera. They're stuffed. They're stuffed. And the foreigners say no, the dealers are stuffed. So guess what? Rates have to go higher to get the foreigners back in. So it's these guys are screwed. They're playing a game they can't win. And unfortunately, the people in the US are gonna suffer the consequences. Okay. And the inflation continues and continues, but yet the markets go up because it's like the classic emperor has no clothes. The emperor's riding around, and Joe Biden, whoever you want to call the emperor, is riding around. Everything looks good. They keep telling you everything looks good, but the emperor's sitting there naked. That's the problem. And the big problem here, and why people don't want to buy our debt, is interest payments. I mean, I've shown this ad nauseum, these charts. They just keep going up. I mean, when I first started showing these charts, a couple of years ago, we were less than $1 trillion. Now we've blown through $1 trillion, and we're going higher because every 3 months, we add another $1 trillion to the debt. If you're a young person, you may not like what I'm going to say. You should stop worrying about climate change. Okay, stop it. Climate change isn't going to kill anybody in the next 100 years, maybe 200 years, maybe. What you should be worried about is these idiot politicians who are bankrupting this country. They're bankrupting, and you don't care. You're protesting it. You need to pay attention to what the politicians are doing. They're bankrupting this country, and no one seems to care. These people need to go. Okay, and then we talk about the commodities. They're just showing the way. Here, copper. Okay, copper is breaking out. It's breaking out. It's not just breaking out. It's exploding. And copper used to be a leading indicator for growth. Since we have no growth, copper is leading indicator for inflation, commodities, the dollar. We're going to see the biggest concern you should be worried about is the dollar. The dollar is about to turn significantly lower. And that means inflation will not come down. We are in for a 70 spiral. Okay, and now you can see here the future of investment. You don't want to invest in stocks because in the 70s, when we had this oil shock, when we had this big inflation shock, which we're about to see soon, which we already have, we're in the middle of it here. The only thing you make money on was gold. You made a significant return on gold. And I mean, this is again, if you don't pay attention to history, you're doomed to repeat history. And these moronic politicians, they don't pay attention. They don't pay attention. Now here's gold versus real rates. So it's diverging right now. Either gold's going to collapse or rates are going higher. Guess what? Rates are going higher. Rates are going higher. And what's that going to do to the economy? Easy to know. And you look at gold again. I keep going back to gold. Look at this long-term chart of gold. I mean, you talk about a stable form of, stable value, form of currency. Gold's been around for thousands of years. You've heard that before. Now, it's probably a little overdone in the short term, but there is nothing nothing in the short term or the medium term that's going to stop gold from going higher. Nothing. We have broken out. We have massive inflation, and there's nothing anyone can do. Now, Bitcoin, on the other hand, I think Bitcoin has a chance to reach its sort of gold potential. If you did the exercise of looking at troy ounces of gold versus Bitcoin, et cetera, Bitcoin should be trading at $500,000 to $600,000 per Bitcoin. That's the reality. It won't get there anytime soon because there's just too many cryptocurrencies. So it's like you don't like the dollar and the euro because they keep printing money. Well, what do you think a cryptocurrency is? They just keep printing alternative coins. Once you get rid of those, Bitcoin is going to realize its true value. That's my take. Okay, so long term, amazing. Okay, and then you look at what really the Fed and the White House are worried about. Okay, it's really what's going on in the labor markets. Look at the employment cost index. It was trending down, boom, exploded. That's what the Fed's looking at. Now, Powell doesn't care because he's a dove, but the rest of the Fed does. Okay, and then the danger for the White House here is job openings. Job openings have collapsed. Now, the job opening market was completely manipulated by Indeed, and they use Indeed and all these employment apps, whatever. There were fake jobs. Everyone knows there were fake jobs out there. There wasn't 4 jobs for a person. That was complete malarkey. This is going to go back to pre-pandemic levels. And so, I mean, there's nothing that, and then you look at, construction. Now, construction is, for every economy, one of the leading places for high-paying construction. And supposedly we have all this infrastructure spending. Well, if we had all this infrastructure spending, Joe Biden and the Democrats stand up and start going, infrastructure, we got all the billions and billions and billions. Then tell me why job openings for construction have collapsed. Explain that to me. If we've got billions and billions of dollars to build bridges and all this roads, why are there no construction jobs? Okay, are they being taken by illegal immigrants? I have no idea, but I don't think so. But again, this is all anecdotal evidence to support the fact that the government lies. They lie. Okay, and then, again, look at this. There's another anecdotal, the tech layoffs. I mean, this is incredible. This is massive. Okay, 263,000 approximately. These are very, very high-paying jobs. Massive layoffs. Layoffs in 23 were 60% higher than 2022, and they're continuing. It's shocking to me that how do we have all of these layoffs? We've got, the job numbers versus employment, jobs going up, temporary jobs, employment negative. And yet the numbers come out, the unemployment numbers, they seem to be the same every month. This is China. This is manipulation in an election year. It's shocking. Absolutely shocking. And then what's all this is causing is, the consumer is tapped out. Okay, here we have excess household savings. It's gone. It's gone. The government pumped up a lot of money, a lot of stimulus checks. The government checks have stopped. Credit card balances, which I've shown numerous times, have exploded. This is doomsday for the consumer. This is doomsday for the US GDP. Doomsday. And then we got real estate. Okay. Now, this chart's kind of interesting because it shows prices. Okay. Remember, they only use 20 cities, by the way. This is a little different. But when you look at the government, the numbers that came out today, they use 20 cities. Right, prices are going up. Schiller prices are going up. 20 cities out of the, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of cities are in this country. The reality is this. Forget about Newark, New Jersey, Providence. I mean, that's all complete garbage. And New York is, as I told you, New York is a manipulated market. There's no inventory anywhere. Look down here at the bottom. Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas was the hottest real estate market in the country for 5, 6, 7 years before the pandemic. And then it even exploded during the pandemic. Austin, Texas is what we call a canary in a coal mine. It was exploding before New York and all these other cities started. And same with San Francisco. They're at the bottom here. Austin is a canary in a coal mine. Pay attention to what's going on in Austin as inventory is exploding down there. All this craziness from the pandemic is over in Austin. It's going to happen everywhere, including New York and Miami. It's all going to revert. Watch Austin. Okay, and it's already starting because inventory is going higher all over the country. Despite what you're seeing, inventory is going up. It's just beginning, but it's going up. And then the other thing is that finally, the government is going to start cracking down on something that I mentioned over a year ago. Maybe when I first started on these videos, I told you guys before anyone was talking about it, about why the real estate market was where it is. Because all the Wall Street banks, hedge funds, Blackstone, all these guys have been buying up all the inventory. That's why there's no inventory. They keep telling you no one wants to sell. Okay, there's a little bit of that. But the main reason is that the incremental buy, the delta buyer over the last 10 years has been investment funds, Wall Street. And that's over. First of all, prices are too high for them to make money. Second of all, you're going to see legislation. It sounds like you're going to see legislation because people are fed up by the high prices. And these guys are going to be forced sellers, and you're going to see prices come in. And this is one of the reasons why I think if you're patient, you should be doing okay. Okay, and look, and finally, I mean, with all this going on, it's amazing, as you can see here, the asset managers are still bullish because they know, and they are very aware that the only thing that all these guys care about is the SP 500. Okay. They keep telling you rate cuts. Why do they keep telling you rate cuts when they know there's no rate cuts? Because they can't let the S&P go down. They can't. They can't. And, the reality is we've got massive amounts of debt in this country. We're a debtor nation, essentially bankrupt. And we print money. So the US dollar is temporarily high, but it's going to come off really hard, which is going to accelerate the inflation. And they will try to keep the S&P 500 as high as they can for as long as they can. They can't let it go down. The S&P 500, and I've said this before, is everything to these people. It's factored into the consumer confidence. It's factored into real estate prices and factored into everything. Everything. The GDP, everything. Folks, this is a corrupt system. I think most of you know that already. It's always been kind of corrupt, but it's the last 3-4 years, it's just out of control. The morons in Washington and Wall Street, they can't hold on for much longer because the chickens are finally coming home to roost. There's no growth. It's all government spending. The government now has to pay a trillion, and it keeps going up, 1.2, 1.3, by the end of the year, be 1.5, 1.6 trillion in interest payments. It can't continue. It's over. But they will keep pushing the S&P higher. They have no choice. So once again, for all you investors out there, keep buying commodities. And if you're in stocks, be careful out there.